All right. So here's my top 5. You got the Buffalo Bills at 1 for obvious reasons. Josh Allen is a superhuman. I think Buffalo falls very similarly into the same category as the Minnesota Vikings. When you look at their total pass numbers and their total rush numbers, you're not really wowed. But when it came down to it, they scored a lot of points. Guys, second in the NFL at 30 points a game. That's insane. Okay, and even if you're not putting up crazy passing numbers and rushing numbers, at the end of the day, only thing that matters is are you getting into the red zone. They were also one of the best red zone offenses in football a year ago, and I think that
I just seen something. Philly is not up on here.
That's why he said we would be upset.
Listen, I think that the Philly.
I look down at the list. I'm looking at him like, did this dude just? I almost said something I should not say on here.
Listen, I'm going to explain why I don't have Philly in my top 5. It's not because I don't think that they have the capability. They are my honorable mention. But I'm going to get to it. After Tampa, I'm going to get to it. Because all that stuff I said about Jalen Hurts, now it looks like I'm bad-mouthing him. But
absolutely.
With the Buffalo Bills, man, I think that Josh Allen's a superhuman. They need James Cook to come back and play in that offense because he makes Josh Allen significantly better. Josh Allen has done the most with the least. Everybody loves to talk about Lamar and his ability to do it without a number 1 receiver. Who has his number 1 receiver been outside of an old age Stephon Diggs? He had Gabe Davis for 2 years, right? Great. Gabe Davis put up similar numbers to Rashad Bateman. So we're not going to sit here and act like Josh Allen had this super great receiving core while Lamar was doing it without. Next up, for obvious reasons, we beat it with a hammer. The Baltimore Ravens have a stacked football team. You have 2 top 10 tight ends in Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. And yes, I know Mark Andrews dropped the football. He cannot do that if he wants to be considered one of the best tight ends in the game. But he's still a top 5 tight end, even after that drop, because a lot of people want to say, Patrick Mahomes is still a top 5 quarterback even after getting dominated in the Super Bowl. Mark Andrews is still a top 5 tight end even after dropping a football. Okay, guys drop footballs. You have Derrick Henry, who is arguably the best running back in football. Obviously, we know it's Saquon Barkley, but a lot of people will argue that Derrick Henry is the most consistent and best running back in football. It's a 1A, 1B type situation. The Baltimore Ravens have a top 5 offensive line. Baltimore fans, you're not going to sit here and tell me the Baltimore Ravens don't have a top 5 graded offensive line. They're good on the offensive line. Very good year in and year out. You got Lamar Jackson, who can literally do it all until the playoffs come around. Outside of this year, I thought he did have a good playoff run this previous year. Outside of the 2 turnovers in the divisional game, he played pretty well within the offense. He still gave his team a chance at the end. I know the 2 turnovers kind of hurt them, but he still gave them a chance. He didn't play horridly out of those 2 compared to other playoff years. You remember when they played the Titans in back-to-back years? He was horrible in those games. Horrible. So in terms of offense, I think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to be a significantly better unit. Them and the Bills right now. With the Chiefs on the decline, I think them and the Bills are on their way up at the moment. We'll move on now. We've got the Detroit Lions coming into 3.
Put you in the big screen so you can look me in the eyes.
I'm looking at you right in this camera. Listen, the Detroit Lions. Yes, he's right. Trojan's right when he says you know what you're going to get out of Jared Goff. Okay, Jared Goff is going to throw for a lot of yards. Okay, DP also touched on this. He's going to get a lot of touchdowns. It's going to be a lot of great. It's also some games where he's going to throw 5 interceptions. My quarterback's not going to do that. But Jared will. Okay, he will throw the football. He's a gunslinger. But outside of that, Detroit still scores the football, guys. 33 points a game. They led the NFL a year ago. They were great through the air, great on the ground. Gibbs is a superstar. Montgomery's incredible. This offense is still going to be rolling. But you do have to take into account that Ben Johnson's in Chicago now. That is a fair take. And when you lose your center, that's different. Like, a lot of people love left tackle. They think, the left tackle, like, he's the great, blah, blah. When you lose your center, your whole offensive line disrupts. The whole continuity of the offensive line gets messed up. The center is literally the quarterback of the offensive line. He's the guy that makes most of the checks, gets guys in the right protections. Now you have a new guy stepping into that role. That's going to affect, to me, that's bigger than Ben Johnson. Because Ben Johnson was an elite coordinator, but there's a lot of elite coordinators, right? There were moments in the playoffs where we were looking at Ben Johnson like, what the hell are you doing? Like the JMO fake thing? Like, thank you. Yeah, he gets too cute sometimes. I think them losing Frank Ragnow is a much bigger hit because that offensive line is going to suffer without their guy at center. Now, can the other guy step in? I don't know who the backup is, but can he step in and, make a change? Absolutely. Not saying he can't, but he's going to have to do that. I still think, though.
They said that about us.
Right. When Jason
So
Kelsey hung it up.
so they could have an insider. They could have a beef jerky waiting in the rings.
Do you know, to me, what the difference is? Jeff Stoutland.
Oh, yeah. There's no STU.
Yeah.
There's only one.
Yeah,
There's
not
only one
everybody's got a
STU.
Jeff Stoutland in his pocket. So I think that even with all those losses, the Detroit Lions still have the talent with Amon St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, Jamo. I think they still have the talent to be a great offense. Time will tell what they look like in terms of continuity. But I still have them at 3 because I think they're just that talented. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals. A year ago, the Cincinnati Bengals were a top 7 team in scoring. They were the best team in throwing the football as well as scoring the football through the air. Now, the run game is kind of where they struggled. If the run game can be better and be more consistent along that offensive line, I think that this Bengals team can easily be a top 5. Guys, they were a top 5 a year ago, and they didn't have a run game. Right? So I look at this Bengals team. When you have $500 million invested in Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, you're going to get production out of those guys. I love the tight ends that they have over there as well. Biggest question mark for me in Cincinnati, offensive line. Can the offensive line come together, get better at run blocking, get them a more – because I love what Chase Brown did for Cincinnati. He just needs to do it consistently and at a slightly higher level, right? They were – what were they, 27th in rushing offense? That's not going to get it done. Got to be better than that. You move into the number 5 spot, you got Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love that pick for DP because when you look at Tampa Bay was top 5 in every single offensive statistical category, right? That was without Chris Godwin. Mm-hmm. They didn't even have him. And they were top 5 in every single category. And let me tell you this right now, guys. They weren't 5 in any of them. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a high-powered offense a year ago. Okay, I think that Baker Mayfield, like we've been talking about, he's a gunslinger. Okay, he reminds me a little bit. He's like the more polished version of Jared Goff. He's going to throw a lot of touchdowns. He's going to throw some interceptions, but he's a little more polished than Jared Goff. And I think that he's found a home in Tampa Bay. That offensive line is absolutely incredible. Tristan Wirfs is an all-pro guy that needs to be up for Protector of the Year. I think he's incredible. Bucky Irving, when the running game came along for Tampa last year, because at first they weren't very good at running the football. As the running game came along, Tampa looked dangerous, man. And if they'd had Chris Godwin, they'd have beat the Commanders in that wild card game. I promise you, they would have beat the Commanders in that game.